It's time to get our business powering into the future so we can provide the greatest customer and employee experience possible. To do this, we need to make sure you have the right tools available to do your best work. Launching in February, our Modern Workplace program will enable you to easily share and find the right information, work from anywhere, on any device, and simplify mundane tasks. It allows you to get on with the good stuff, like collaborating with people from across the business and even outside our organisation, sharing your knowledge and experience. The Modern Workplace program is a 12-month program that will teach you about a range of different Office 365 applications. Don't worry, we'll be rolling these out in phases, giving you plenty of time to learn and experiment. Looking forward to it? We are too, which is why it forms part of our transformation through technology strategy. You'll hear more from us soon, but if you want to get started now, join the Modern Workplace community on Yammer.
Hi, my name is Rishi Nikolai, and I'm the Digital Culture and Adoption Specialist here at Microsoft. Today, we're talking to the team at Actu-AGL, who are a utility provider here in Canberra, Australia. They have been working on implementing their adoption and modern workplace initiative using the modern collaboration architecture. The modern collaboration architecture is a way that Microsoft has chosen to talk about how we help the different dynamics within an organization, look at consolidating the collaborative efforts, and we look at helping to answer the which tool when in the Microsoft 365 suite of technologies. Actu-AGL have been putting together a modern workplace initiative to help their frontline staff, their office staff, the engineers, the knowledge workers become more collaborative, more productive, and help to manage information in new and useful ways. With that, I wanted to introduce you to our panel members today. Here we have Joe, who's the Organizational Change Manager in the Technology Division. We have Jacinta, who's the Manager of Information Services in IT. And we have Miles, who's the ICT Operations Manager. Welcome, everyone, for the panel interview today.
Hi, Rishi. How you going?
Hi, Rishi. Thanks.
So my first question is for you, Miles. Right. So Miles, you partnered with Microsoft to kick off the Microsoft 365 adoption journey about 2 years ago. What were you hoping to achieve as an outcome from your Microsoft 365 initiative?
Thanks, Rishi. So, to be honest, I didn't start looking for an adoption program. I saw a challenge where we're looking to roll out the Office 365 suite, and I was really concerned about governance. We had this great, powerful tool, and I could just see it was going to spread like wildfire. But then I was really scared about how we would control that environment. So me as a traditional IT technologist, it was all about control. And I approached Microsoft to go, please help me on how I put governance across this. From there, with the different conversations with you guys, it's sort of morphed into what we now know as our Modern Workplace program and adoption.
Okay, great. Thank you, Miles. And what were some of the challenges that you were hoping to address as part of this initiative?
So I think some of the things we're looking at there is trying to resolve some of our collaboration problems. We're a very traditional company. The way we operated, we just operated via email, and that was it, face-to-face meetings. So I was trying to we wanted to remove some of those face-to-face meetings, but improve that collaboration between the company. We were having way too many meetings in a day, but like I said, once again, it was all face-to-face. We'd spend time even though we're only in Canberra, which is a small locale, we'd drive to offices. We'd spend time, we'd have our executive definitely driving between sites. And I would talk to our CIO, and he goes, I've just gone to 3 different sites today for 3 different meetings. And he's lost probably 2 hours in a car. Canberra's only a small town, so it doesn't take long, but still, he lost a lot of time there. And we're also concerned about our information management. So how people access information, how we store the information, and what to do with it once you had it. So what to make it useful, I suppose.
And Joe, you are the Organizational Change Manager within Actu-AGL. So what were some of the business outcomes that you were hoping to achieve as part of this initiative?
Okay, sure. So thanks very much for asking that question. I think one of the most important things that we wanted to do for our employees was just improve their overall experience of coming to work. We wanted to make it easier to get work done. We wanted to make it easier to find the right information at the right time that they needed it. We wanted to make it easier for the whole organisation to collaborate and share ideas and information with each other. So. And also about creating a more flexible work environment in how our employees worked is that, the 365 stack actually enables that and brings that flexibility to our workplace, so people don't necessarily feel like they need to be stuck at their desks all the time and still be productive. They can be working from home. They can be, going from one location to another if they still need to do that, and they can be on the go as they're still responsive and still contactable as well.
I didn't want to be that technology project which has rammed the technology down someone's throat.
Yeah.
Did not want that. So, yes, initially I went to Microsoft to talk about governance, but one of the other things that's really concerned me, and this is where the whole adoption of Mocha framework resonated with me, is I wanted to have a humanistic approach to it. I did not want to be the bad guy in the room and everybody just hated the technology project just being dropped on them. It's technology, and the 365 suite is supposed to be an enabler. It is not supposed to be a weight around people's neck. So.
And our organisation has seen a lot of technology change over the last 3 to 4 years, and I think all of us had seen those technology programs be implemented, not be successful, not be adopted in the way that the project intended it to be. So that was definitely a consideration for us in putting a humanistic side to it first and foremost, and developing those right approaches that were tailored for the business areas.
Great. So what about the modern collaboration architecture resonated with you, and why did you decide to go and use the modern collaboration architecture as an enabler for you to design your adoption program?
We love that it gave us something that we could connect technology with people. It gave us a really good structure to work with. It talked about how we build the capabilities for individuals, but also capabilities for teams, and then also as broader communities. So how we really kind of fostered that. And I think we were also really focused around culture as an organisation at that point in time, and building the right culture for our organisation. So this fitted in really well with an overall culture program that we were kind of working on, which we can talk a little bit about more later as well.
Yeah, definitely.
I think it also helps explain all the tools that Microsoft has. There's so many different tools and what to use and when, and that made it really simple to explain to our staff and our users, about even our field workers who never look at applications or their phone. It made it really easy to help get them on board.
We did some really great stuff where we kind of mapped different areas of our business and different roles with their level of mobility versus their level of collaboration. That helped us build personas, which we could then turn into real characters that would really resonate with our employees in terms of the organisation when we were kind of rolling it out as well.
Yeah, so in addition to what Joe and Jacinta, probably more following up on what Jacinta said, is so we definitely through the guidance of the framework is you've got to have the right material for the right person. So the right horse for the right course. So basically, we were standing up SharePoint sites. We definitely leveraged Yammer and to get messaging out. Still use traditional sort of things like email. And we also went through, we created knowledge articles, and different people resonate different ways and you consume information differently. So that's what we're trying to do there. And we also made sure we had plenty of feedback, and it was face-to-face forums as well. So it wasn't just here's a pretty little slideshow or something like that. Here's death by PowerPoint. It was definitely reaching out to our executive and to our senior managers and making sure we had time to go and talk to the various areas. And we're quite a diverse company. So everything, you go from a sales-focused organisation to the field guys, and you've got your HR people and IT in between. So you definitely have to make sure that you pitch it to the right level and to the right people. So,
And another thing we did to that as well, Miles, is we actually got faces of our program. So rather than just getting those generic iStock images, we got people from within our organisation to be the faces of our program. We used them on all of our collateral, and that really resonated with our people. So when they walked into the kitchen, they seen the Modern Workplace program poster, it had their colleague on it. It didn't just have
Not standard stock image.
stock image, and I think that's also now rolling out to our full brand as well that ActuAGL's done. It's all about our people, and that's where we're going. I'm trying to think what I'm trying to say.
But what's been equally fantastic is that we can stand there with our, some of our field guys now and talk to them about the power of Microsoft Teams, and we can say, make a call in Microsoft Teams, turn your camera on, turn it around, show your supervisor what you're actually seeing in the field, and that can help solve real problems real time in the field rather than waiting for a supervisor to get in their car and drive out to site, which they may or may not be able to do on that day. So it's been able to help, teach the field guys by them being champions for the change as well. And they're more inclined to actually listen to those types of stories from their colleagues and their peers rather than from someone who's just running the project like ourselves.
Yeah. So it sounded like getting your people to buy into the program was a major contributor to your success.
Yep.
absolutely.
And we started with our executive. So our executive were absolute key for sitting down with them, firstly explaining what the 365 suite of tools were, what the modern collaboration architecture was there and designed to do, how they could be involved, what some of our challenges were, get them to actually agree and actually, validate those challenges and be part of that solution building, but then ask for their help in actually for the coming weeks and months of actually rolling that out. And they've been invaluable in terms of the support that they've been able to provide through the 800 plus OneDrive and Exchange migrations that we've done. So, so far.
So one of the aspects of the mock-up looks at individual productivity. And Jacinta, as information manager, obviously document management and good information practices is something that's top of mind for you.
Yep, and to what I said a little bit before, Rishi, what we were needing to focus on was emails and attachments, and people just sending 50,000 emails and attachments and how they manage that work. Now that we've finished rolling out our Exchange piece, what we want to start looking at is the My Analytics, and rolling that out to the organisation and showing people that how powerful that tool is and how that can help improve their day-to-day work. I've been using it and I set focus time and all that sort of stuff. So teaching the business how to do that and will help along our journey as well. We're not done yet.
And Joe, I think earlier today, while we were walking here, we actually met somebody who told us a story about how they've been using OneDrive for personal productivity.
Yeah, so actually our manager for network services who runs all our field teams came out and talked to us about, he recently did some filming out on site while a pole was being installed and was able to instantly move those videos from his camera and upload them to OneDrive, which made them instantly available on his desktop computer, which he could play instantly. Previously, he was having to download those, try and transfer them, try and email them through to himself. So that was his aha moment. And I think, part of our roles is trying to help, people in the organisation find their aha moments with these tools. So I think that's a really, important point to be able to point out as well, is it?
Yeah, and I recall earlier in the program, we spent a fair bit of time talking about how we're going to get every individual to apply their skills and experience into their everyday job, and how we could then position the scenarios in a way that it really helps them come up with the top priorities for their day and how they can use the tools to make their life a little bit easier.
Yeah. One of the things that we're trying to do now is, now that we've got Exchange in, we can start introducing things like Power Automate to the organisation. So where we know there are processes and procedures that have emails as notifications and workarounds, where we can introduce, automatic workflows that will remove that need for that people intervention all the time, and how we empower people in the business to set that up themselves without necessarily being overly tech savvy. That's kind of the next phase of our roles in this project.
Okay, wow, very impressive. So Miles, teamwork is important to Actu-AGL. So can you talk a little bit about how introducing the concept of teamwork enabled by Microsoft Teams was important to Actu-AGL in 2020?
2020 has been a fun year, especially from a technology perspective. So Australia started the year with massive bushfires. Even from where we're sitting right now, we had bushfires within only about 10 k's from here in a straight line, and parts of the house, some of the residential area around here had to be evacuated, or preparing to be evacuated. So it's interesting that we're still rolling out Teams at that stage. People have been using it for a while, but all of a sudden Teams then just spread like wildfire. It was its own bushfire because people could work collaboratively and remotely, but still work as a team. So we had people working long hours, but also the changing of shifts, and also the executive in our crisis management teams and that sort of thing. They could all work together quickly and communicate. So for us, Teams was an absolute saviour. And I actually remember, I think it was one of the senior managers within the field crews. He actually said, I don't know what we did without it beforehand. And then we rolled out of bushfires, took a very short breath, and then here come COVID. And from there, once again, for the field guys, they then split their teams. They couldn't, because of social distancing, they had to split their teams. So they had a blue-green team and a green team in different locations. They all usually work out of one depot, right. And they've now started, they had to separate.
Right. And Jacinta, I remember us having this conversation around a team not being just a group of people that report to the same manager, right? But a group of people that actually have interdependency in their work. So irrespective of who they report to within the organization, as long as they're working together to achieve that common outcome, they could form an effective team unit. Yep. So how did some of those conversations influence the way you set up Microsoft Teams?
So our project team's set up like that. We have our specific core project team, and then we've got different parts of the organisation, different parts of technology in our team that we need their support from to be able to make it successful. So it's just looking at what you need when and who you need to speak to on a daily basis and creating the team for that need. Sort
of double click on that a little bit. So with Office 365 and Microsoft 365 being a continuously evolving initiative, within the organization, people also need to constantly grow and learn new things. So what has been the role of setting up communities in enabling individuals to constantly learn, grow, and become even more effective versions of themselves?
So with our communities, it's something that we're continually working on and improving. But some of the things that we've done, and one of the big things we've done as part of this project, was create the Modern Workplace community. And that was where we've shared all of our hints, our tips, our quick tips, our things that you can do, new facts, new ideas, and also got the business to share things that they've found as well. So we'll have different stakeholders jump on and go, I've just worked out I can do this, and then they're sharing it. And that's just only one example. We've used it for COVID-19 with different updates on what's happening there. It's just an endless opportunity to share information with people.
And the beauty of the communities is that people will ask a question. They're not necessarily going to go to the service desk. If they go in a community, if someone else goes, hey, I know how to fix that for you. So it improves, we speed up our resolution time to some simple things. So how do I, instead of ringing up the service to go, how do I use this in Word or in Teams? Someone else goes, just do this. So that's been really good.
Yeah. It also increases your network. Before this project, people in the contact centre may have never spoken to someone in finance, but because of a community on Modern Workplace, they now know that person's name. So if they have an issue, or if the person in finance has an issue, they know who they can go speak to.
Great. So you used Yammer as your community management platform.
Yep.
And you used Teams as a collaborative space where you could focus on achieving outcomes.
Yep.
Right? Why the differentiation for Teams in Teams and Yammer for communities?
Because Yammer is more about building that broader base of knowledge. Teams is all about working towards a common goal with people that you're working with, and you're not necessarily directly all in the same team or all have the same manager. Jacinta and myself, we have different managers, yet we're in a team because we have a common goal to deliver the Modern Workplace program.
Yep.
So the team's focus is around the common goal achievement, whereas Yammer is about building your network, sharing your knowledge, learning and growing of individuals, because ultimately, if they feel like they are learning and they're enjoying their role, then they're more inclined to actually want to stay within an organisation.
So what it sounds like to me is that when you are working in a team environment, you're actually creating a silo to create focus.
Yep.
And within teams, you are creating a whole bunch of focused areas where people were delivering outcomes.
Yep.
Whereas in Yammer, you had an opportunity to create a more inclusive environment, which was all around breaking those silos and cross-pollinating knowledge and wisdom from across the organization into one place.
It's areas of interest, essentially. So that's where I think the community kicks in. It may not be my key focus, but I'm interested in that area. And Yammer, I think, it's more of a, I'll get to that, and it's something that I'll look at when I'm interested in looking at it. But the teams is where you're in, day out, focused on the actual, on the problem, whatever, and the outcome that you're trying to achieve.
Where you're doing your work.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right. So we've talked about the three core aspects of Mocha. We talked about individual focus, team focus, and community focus. The fourth focus area is the more foundational. So it's the organizational focus area. So this is where we have things like live streaming. We had forms for sharing the ability for people to gather information from across the organization. How did you use some of those core capabilities like Power Apps and Forms and Stream and SharePoint for document management across the organization?
So we use Stream in terms of that's where we place all our multimedia material now. So it's kind of like our little ActuAGL Evo Energy YouTube channel in a lot of ways, where we can upload content and stream that, and then we can place links to that on our intranet site that we have as a SharePoint site, which we call the Grid. And then we use forms. We've used forms within the project to gather feedback and data based upon people's usage of applications, how they've found the applications, and we've seen that sort of grow gradually over the last few months. Again, I think there's a lot of work to do. Power Apps is again something we need to probably focus a lot more on. And educating the business, but there's certainly a lot of appetite out there for Power Apps, and we see that in terms of particularly within our technology areas, our engineering areas.
I said earlier that what I learned out of this and what technology had to be was flexible, and the business are always ahead of us to a certain extent. So they're beating down the door right now. We're doing Power Apps, we're doing Power Platform, and they're going hard at that, and we're scrambling to keep up. We haven't got there yet because we're a finite resource team. So we're constantly going, okay, here it is, and we're going to try and follow you along and wrap that governance and that sort of control. So we don't really, when I talk about control, I don't want to be, I sound like a control freak, but it's not that. It's more about all I want to do is protect the data. So as long as we use it, it's up to the business to use the data the way they see fit. We're just going to make sure that it's secured and it's protected and it's used appropriately, I suppose.
So, Joe, I know having a change management based adoption program was important to you. So can you talk a little bit about what were the change management approaches you used and the impact that had to the overall adoption program?
So firstly, I think it's really important that a 365 implementation project has a dedicated change resource. I think it's important to have a methodology that you follow. So we've talked about how the Mocha has kind of helped us do that, but we also used ProSci in terms of a formal change management methodology to follow for the project. We implemented things like we talked about before in terms of having a strong change management plan, a communications plan. We had change champions, we had early adopters, we had a clear rollout plan, and we also made decisions along the way to actually stop if things didn't go as planned with certain migrations, and that delayed things sometimes, but it was worth it, because if we kept going and just trying to, force something that clearly had technical issues associated, it was going to damage the overall adoption. So we had things in place in terms of rewarding people and thanking them for their contributions, leader engagements, and hints and tips that we kind of placed out and into the organisation. And that's still a work in progress.
So what if you didn't have Mocha as an enabling framework to help you design your modern workplace program? How would the world look like for you today?
This would be a stock standard IT project with lots of, I think, problems which we wouldn't have a tool bag to help us to get success, I suppose. If we didn't have it, I think, it would be, people would hate us. The business would hate us because we're just, here's a tool, off you go.
And I think our users would be saying the same thing that they said at the beginning of this project. What do I use when? What do I use Teams for? What do I use Yammer for? Without that Mocha, they wouldn't have understood where the different pieces fit in. So the individual, the team and the community part, the Mocha explains what apps to use beautifully.
And it's not just a explain once and forget. You need to keep explaining. You need to keep spending the time. You get new leaders, you get new employees, you get new managers all the time who have come in and never been exposed to these tools. So having someone in the organisation who can spend that time with people and keep reminding them about the ways to use it. I think if we didn't have it, it would be, just another project that has failed to hit its outcomes, failed to meet its objectives. People don't really understand how to use it.
Right. And with that, I really want to thank you all for spending the time talking about your experiences in designing your adoption program for your modern workplace initiative using the modern collaboration architecture. Hopefully the architecture continues to be helpful to you, and when you're looking at growing the program for the rest of the technology sets across the organization. And hopefully all of you have found this session to be really useful, and you can take some of the experiences of Miles, Jacinta, and Joe and incorporate within your adoption programs when you're rolling out Microsoft 365 as part of your modern work initiatives. With that, thank you very much and goodbye.